So you did it. You finally hit that magic 7-figure number, $1 million with your brand. But at the back of your mind, you do what every great business owner does. You think, what's next? How do I hit 2, 5, 10 million with this brand? And how can I keep growing in a way that makes sense? Well, in this video, I'm going to be doing just that, on how we grow our own brands and our clients from 1 million mark to the 5 to the 10 and beyond. I'll mainly be discussing knowing your velocity constraint, your performance ads, your creatives, your unit economics, the 4 peak theory, which a lot of people don't know about, LTV, if your brand has it, and percentage of organic to paid. Welcome back, everyone. My name is Arsalan, founder of AKM Media, an e-commerce growth partner and AAA Capital. We scale, grow, and invest in the DTC businesses that we love. Now, I said this last time, there is no one right way to grow your brand and DTC business. However, being in the industry for 7 years now, my team and I have spotted key traits within brands that scale from 7 to 8 figures and above, and usually it's things that you can replicate in almost every niche or industry. That being said, there is always an exception to the rule. However, there are 7 things that you should think about when you want to go from a 7-figure brand to an 8-figure brand or further. Now, the first thing on that list is understanding your velocity constraint. What is it? Where did it come from? Why is it so important? Well, in the world of DTC, our velocity constraint is our ability to scale past a certain point due to exhausting the cohort of customers that make us profitable. Now, this can mean a few things. If you spend more on ads, it won't mean more profits or revenue. And that's because your CPA, your cost per purchase, increases the more you spend on paid channels. And that is due to the fact that you exhaust the lowest hanging fruit each time you spend. Every brand has it. And eventually, you hit a point somewhere between $3 to $5 million where most brands hit this constraint. That, my dear friends, is your velocity constraint. So now what? You're eager to spend more as you want to make more, but the ad gods and Mark Zuckerberg have simply said, look, pal, it's just not going to happen or change. But you're different. You came prepared. You had your financial models prepared, and you knew that this day would come. You knew about your velocity constraint, and therefore you planned for how you would pivot or arbitrage aspects of your business to get past it. Now, I won't go into all the ways you can go around a constraint in this video because that would literally take 2 hours. But I'm here to explain the most common examples that we tend to follow and have seen. Now, number 1 is we leveraged LTV-based bidding and scale based on your 60-day CPA target instead, allowing us to spend more, leverage credit cards, and pay off the bill 60 days later when a percentage of customers have come back and bought again. Now, number 2, we slowed down on scaling spend and tried to increase other levels of the company, focusing on returning customers, upselling existing companies, giving people more incentive to come back and buy from us. This might mean new product launches, offers, or programs for existing customers. It may also even involve changing the product packaging to entice customers to share and publicly tell people about your brand. And number 3, we tried to increase one of the variables that extends our velocity constraint. We either increase the website conversion rate, if we can, or we improve the click-through rate metrics on ads to get more customers into the funnel for less spend, meaning then we can spend more and acquire profitably again. Those are just some of the core examples on why it's important to understand your velocity constraint, as during the 7 to 8 figure value of growth, most businesses will hit theirs, and in many cases, they have no idea how to solve the issue. Don't be one of them. Prepare for it. Predict at what level you won't be able to spend more as your CPA will become so high, and plan around it. If you feel that you need help with this, feel free to reach out to my team at AKM for your free growth audit, and we'll see what is the best direction that you should be heading into for this year and the next. Now, the second thing in scaling from 7 to 8 figures as a DTC brand is to ensure that your ads are as efficient as possible. Brands rarely get beyond 7 figures with wasted spend, over attribution, overlapping ad platform ROAS, or just bad account structures. In many cases, it's actually quite easy to scale to $1 million generated in revenue for a DTC brand with just ads alone. But getting from 1 to 5 to 10 to 50 and doing that profitably is a whole different story. Here are a few tips that we recommend when looking over your ads. Number 1, understand your ad platform attribution and see if there's a discrepancy in the ROAS reported. A super easy way to check this on Meta, for example, is to look at your purchase ROAS, your 1-day click ROAS, and your 7-day click ROAS. Now, your 1-day click ROAS is one of the most accurate measuring tools to see how many customers clicked on your ads and bought within the same 24 hours. Your 7-day day becomes a great tool to use as a proxy. In many cases, you will see that your 1-day click and 7-day click won't be that far apart. If they are, it means that people require multiple touch points before they decide to buy or not. And this can be the case for usually higher AOV stores or more expensive products, so don't fear if it's too different. However, if you're under sort of that $200 AOV range as a product and you see massive differences of 40, 50+%, then you should start thinking of ways to optimize your store to get people to buy sooner versus later. Because the longer it takes, the more money is being wasted on serving ads to get people to then buy. And there are a few ways you can go about this. You can either have exclusions in place to stop this or frequency caps. However, we at AKM don't really play around or recommend touching frequency options too much, as it can mess up the algorithmic learning phases. Now, the next thing to do is to compare your 1-day click and 7-day click to your overall ROAS. Now, in most cases, Meta and others use view through attribution. People that saw your ads but didn't click on them, and it still attributes them due to the data sampling after iOS 14. Now, view through ROAS is absolutely fake, and a lot of brands are sometimes deceived to believe that their true ROAS is actually a lot higher than the reality of what it actually is. If your 1-day click and 7-day click show large signs of difference, then it's a pretty good bet that your ads are not as effective as you think they are, and they are losing money, as you're also serving to existing customers, retargeting customers, and other channel customers within that. Now, for example, if you had a cold conversion campaign running, then this is a clear sign to optimize and fix the issue ASAP, as you don't want any other user other than potential new customers seeing those ads. In many cases, simply by understanding how to optimize your ads better like this can save you a lot more money and unlock a lot more profitable scale to get you to those levels that you want to be. Now, number 3 is creative. Arguably the most important thing in your arsenal when it comes to scaling paid acquisition channels, whether it be on TikTok, Meta, YouTube, Snapchat, or in a new platform that exists when you see this video. Understanding your creative from a data-backed approach is crucial to winning at the mid 7-figure and 8-figure plus stages of growth. We have never, and I repeat, we have never seen a brand win with creative that performs under the industry averages at scale, and I'm sure we never will. So it's important that if you have this issue, you fix it as soon as possible. Now, the first thing I can recommend is learning the AIDA framework: attention, interest, desire, and action. This can be correlated into 3 core areas of performance ads today. Thumb stop being the first one, your ability to get people to stop scrolling and to watch the ad in the first place. Average watch time, how much of the ad is viewed, do they even make it to the important parts of your actual product, and unique outbound click-through rate, the ability of your ad to get people to click and make it to the landing page itself without dropping off. Now at AKM, we look for the following metrics: 30% thumb stop, 7 to 9 seconds average watch time, and 2 to 2.5% click-through rate, depending on how much it's spending. Now, this ensures that we perform with ads that are at the peak of the industry averages to date, and we can then go ahead and also optimize to see if we can surpass these metrics and go above the industry average. Now, a great example of this is that if you made it to 7 figures with your DTC brand or ecom brand, you likely have tested a lot of assets already. Now, do an exercise where you break down each ad by its thumb stop, the watch time, and the click-through rate, and I'm sure that you'll find some clear winners on which ads have the highest of each metric. From this point onwards, you can go ahead and start to compile the key traits of these winning ads: their hooks, the messaging, the midsections, and the call to actions that got them the great click-through rates that they had in the first place. As a result, each new batch of assets that you now create will be methodical and have a higher probability beating your last iteration. No more guesswork on ad creatives, just follow the data and see what works for you. And if nothing works at all, then you just haven't nailed it yet. But you will if you follow the data and improve incrementally. No great brand was ever able to scale without understanding the unit economics in e-commerce and in DTC. This becomes ever so important the larger you go, because that 1% can make a massive difference to your potential scale or strategy. You need to understand as a business owner which products drive the most sales, the best market fit, but you also need to understand which products drive the highest margins. If you have multiple products that do both, then you're in a great spot to scale. And this is most ideal when you're in that sort of growth valley between 3 to 10 million. In many cases, you may not even be focusing on the right product at scale. Now, a lot of the time, brands make it to 7-figure scale with just 1 or 2 hero products amongst their other lines. But more often than not, we have found that the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, or even 6th best display great market fit qualities, but even better margins, meaning that they require a lower ROAS to scale. And as we mentioned before, the more you scale, your ROAS will dip because your CPAs will rise. So the lower the ROAS you can afford, or the higher the CPA you can afford, the more you can scale that product. And now you can begin to create an entire creative strategy just around that new product with the lower margin that you just discovered. That is just one example, but it's crucial you understand your product margins, your LTV, and everything you can, as this plays a massive role on your ad strategies, your scaling capabilities, and even product merchandising or creating a new product as you grow and get to different stages. Now, sometimes the product you sold won't be able to scale you further, but that new bundle idea, leveraging your highest LTV products, may just do it for you. So never ever forget the importance of your numbers and understanding your unit economics as a brand. Now, the next thing on the list is having multiple peaks in the year, which we call the 4-peak theory. Now, we have another video about this which goes into further detail, but it's important to know. Now, almost every business and brand in the world naturally has around 2 peaks throughout the year. For most, that is Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and usually another point in the year where people naturally need or want your product more. An example of a health-based business is the January to February period, because more people tend to focus on their health at the start of the year with the resolutions and goals, and eventually they let this slip mid-year before coming back again and buying it all on discount at the end of the year. Now, multiple peaks revolve closely around a strong and robust marketing calendar. No large businesses in the 8-figure range don't have one, and no business makes it without one at that stage either. So it's important that you create one if you haven't already and you stick to it. It's arguably one of the most important assets your brand will have and create, and everything will revolve around it. From ad launches to your creative deadlines on being ready, to your retention, email and SMS journeys and flows, to new product launches in the year and for sale periods. It's essentially what your entire forecast will be built around. Now, I said that most brands have 2 natural peaks in the year. To make more out of the year, you need to double that or even triple it if you want to be super aggressive, but that is very, very hard to do. So I'll leave that aside for this video. Now, you should find relevant holidays, cultural celebrations, and product events to gradually increase the revenue at 4 points throughout the year. And the final 4th one, of course, being Black Friday and the Christmas holidays. Your strategy should start by identifying existing high points and then the off seasons or the revenue dips throughout your, and then start to plan where your artificial peaks will take place. Now, if you're thinking, why would I want to do this? There are some cons to only just relying on your natural peaks. When you only have 2, you also give more room to low points in the year where revenue is not as abundant, and therefore you can't arbitrage those moments for your DTC brand and scale around it. But then there's also pros to having more peaks. Businesses are more likely to engage with more new customers during these 4 peaks that they create, or their artificial peaks, witness progressive movements and much faster or more linear yearly growth, and at the same time making sure that your business can support that level of growth. Now, one of the downsides to having your 4-peak theory is that you need to learn how to have a strong and robust marketing calendar throughout the year to be able to go ahead and execute on this. Essentially, what I'm saying is it's not easy to do, but if you can make it happen, you will definitely be on your way to those high 7 figures and 8 figures as a DTC brand. If you want more info on how we do this for our brands and the businesses that we work with, then make sure you click the link below and speak to my team on getting a free growth guide audit done for your brand, just to see how we can best guide you. And finally, LTV. One of the final few points is LTV. Now, I've mentioned this point a few times now throughout this video, but it is an amazing word: customer lifetime revenue. And it's one of the best ways you can scale past your constraints between that 3 to 5 million range if you have strong LTV as a business. This simply just means having a strong lifetime revenue of a customer, meaning they come back and they buy from you again and again, and that raises their value as a retained customer for your business. The higher your LTV is within an e-commerce business, the more risky moves you can make. Now, some of the largest companies in the world hope that they can make enough more to retain their customers and eventually become profitable. Now, think about Amazon as a great example of this. It took them, I think, on average over 2 years to make a customer profitable for most of their first decade in the e-commerce space. Now, in D2C, you can't wait a decade or 2 years to be profitable. So instead, we always scale on the magic 60-day number, the same as most credit lines and where credit cards are due. This is called having a negative cash flow conversion cycle. It allows many companies to scale at a loss on their first order as long as they know that their LTV is high enough to make a profit and more within that 60-day period. A lot of subscription-based brands know this and do this. Manscaped was known to do this for a long time, scaling at a 0.6x ROAS and allowing for a loss because their LTV was so high that they made around a 3.5x back within 60 days time. LTV is a very, very powerful thing. It means that you can hit your velocity constraint. Just by having a great LTV value, you can slow down your new customer growth and let the returning customers compound over time, meaning that you grow slowly but profit a lot more in the long run. LTV is a great tool to get brands to new heights in their growth journeys, and a lot of strategy on spending and scaling revolves around this one metric. So it's important to know yours, to understand it, to improve it, and see if things like new product launches and incentives for customers to return and so forth will help in that. And for those who made it this far in the video, finally, the last point I want to discuss is percentage of organic to paid, a metric most DTC brands look over in the pursuit of greatness. They forget the basics of being good first. Now, what is it? Percentage of organic is the ratio of your new customers acquired that were completely organic versus your paid channels. This metric alone can make a brand millions more or also burn a lot of cash at the same time. Now, from the last 7 years and over 300 millions on ad spend, we have noticed that most DTC brands have a negative percentage of organic to paid ratio. And a large part of that is due to being so reliant on ad platforms to generate the revenue and customer bases. As a result, their back-end business CPA is actually a lot higher than they may think. Say your percentage of organic to paid ratio is minus 30%. If you were to acquire a new customer today for $100, your real back-end cost for the business would actually be $130 to acquire that customer because you're overlapping across your paid channels. You just wouldn't see that on the ad platform, but you would feel it on your P&L and cash flow statements. It's a silent killer of profit and scaling. However, if you were to focus on improving this metric by, let's say, diversifying from just paid ads, building a strong brand community, having strong organic reach and virality on socials, going off e-commerce and into retail or other distribution channels, enticing customers to share your product or brand by word of mouth via referrals. And eventually, if you got this to be positive, for example, let's say 30%, then suddenly that $100 CPA becomes $70. And as a result, you can now afford a higher CPA on your paid ad channels because your organic compensates for that difference on the back end. And this allows you to scale past your velocity constraint and push further as a brand. And that's about all. Now, this video was quite a lot, so if you did enjoy this, smash that like button. We always appreciate your love. If you were confused by anything, let me know in the comments. And if you would like to understand how your brand can go from 7 to 8 figures, then don't hesitate to reach out to myself and my team, and we will try to point you in the right direction wherever we can. My name is Arsalan, and as always, I'll see you on the next one.